The grand estate was quiet, its marble halls echoing with the soft hum of wealth. In one of the rooms, a young boy sat in a wheelchair, staring out of a massive window, watching life pass him by. He had never taken a single step. Doctors said he never would. His father, a powerful millionaire, had given him everything money could buy, except the one thing he wanted most. Then, one afternoon, a new maid arrived, a woman no one paid much attention to. But within days, she would do something so unthinkable, so powerful, that the boy's life and his family's would change forever. Ethan Whitmore had been born into luxury. His father, Charles, owned one of the most successful companies in the city. Their mansion was filled with art, chandeliers, and endless staff. Yet, despite the riches surrounding him, Ethan's world was painfully small. Born with a condition that left him unable to walk, his childhood was confined to chairs, books, and the view of other children running outside. Charles tried to ease the pain with tutors, expensive toys, and the best medical care money could buy, but none of it filled the emptiness in Ethan's heart. What he craved wasn't more comfort, it was freedom. When the family's longtime maid retired, a replacement was hired. Her name was Grace. A quiet black woman, she carried herself with dignity, even though many in the mansion looked down on her. To the staff, she was just a help. To Charles, she was invisible. But to Ethan, she would become something far more. From the first day she wheeled his chair into the garden, she didn't just see a boy trapped, she saw possibility. Grace noticed what no one else did. While others pitied Ethan, she spoke to him like he was capable. Where the doctors had set limits, she encouraged him to imagine more. At first, Ethan resisted. Years of disappointment had made him numb. But Grace was persistent. She told him stories of her own childhood, of the challenges she faced growing up poor, where no one believed in her. Yet she had pushed forward anyway. Slowly, Ethan began to listen. He started to laugh at her stories, then looked forward to her visits. Grace would take him outside, where the air was fresh, and instead of focusing on what he couldn't do, she pointed out what he still could. She guided him in small movements, exercises the doctors had long dismissed. The other staff mocked her behind her back, calling her foolish for giving the boy false hope. Even Charles, when he overheard, scolded her, "Don't fill his head with dreams, he needs to accept reality." But Grace didn't stop. She saw something in Ethan no one else did, a spark waiting to be ignited. One day, as she helped Ethan practice shifting from his chair to a standing frame, something extraordinary happened. His legs trembled, his body shook. But for the first time, he held himself upright, if only for a moment. Tears filled his eyes. Grace didn't cheer or pity. She simply nodded, as if to say, "See, I told you." That small step was nothing to the world, but to Ethan, it was everything. And what came next would leave the entire mansion in disbelief. It was a rainy evening when everything changed. Charles had invited business partners to the mansion for a lavish dinner. The halls were filled with laughter, glasses clinking, and conversations about wealth. Ethan, as usual, was kept out of sight, wheeled into his room with books and silence. But that night, Ethan didn't want to hide. He had been practicing with Grace in secret, determined to prove that he wasn't helpless. With her by his side, he pushed his chair into the dining hall, the room falling silent as guests turned to stare. Charles's face flushed with embarrassment. He began to rise, ready to usher his son away before anyone pitied him. But then, in front of dozens of powerful men and women, Ethan gripped the edge of the table and stood. His legs trembled violently, his breath quickened, but he was upright. A few seconds later, he took one shaky step, then another. Gasps filled the room, forks dropped. For Charles, it was like time froze. The boy doctors had given up. The son he had quietly pitied, was walking, because of a maid he had overlooked, even dismissed. Ethan's eyes glistened with tears, his voice breaking as he said only one word, "Dad." Charles, overwhelmed, rushed forward, catching him before he fell. And in that moment, the millionaire realized something money had blinded him from. It wasn't wealth that gave his son hope. It was the belief of a woman society treated as less. From that night on, Ethan's life changed. With Grace's help, he continued therapy, pushing past limits no doctor thought possible. He didn't become a sprinter, but he found independence, confidence, and joy for Charles. The lesson was humbling. He had dismissed Grace because of her position, her background, and yes, her race, but it was her heart, her faith, and her resilience that gave his son what millions of dollars never could: the courage to walk. The mansion staff never mocked her again. Instead, they watched her with newfound respect, realizing that true strength doesn't come from wealth or titles, but from lifting others when no one else will. And as for Ethan, his first steps were more than a physical triumph. They were proof of something far greater, that sometimes the people society underestimates the most are the ones who hold the power to change everything. Because in the end, the question isn't what you have, but who believes in you enough to help you stand.